3. So welcome everybody. I'm going to ask you first just to mute yourself because we have some training providers who can't make the call today, and it will just ensure the quality of the recording when I send it out. So I'm your host, Dawn Campbell. You all know me. And throughout the year, you've talked to me about your intention to digitalize your course and go international, and inquired about how could you digitalize and obviously monetize your courses. So I've invited a very special guest speaker, Peter Thomson, and his team, Beverly and Rachel, to talk to us about this. So welcome, Peter and Beverly and Rachel.
Delighted to be with you.
You're very welcome. I know there's a lot of material to get through, and we also know that to emulate excellence, we have to learn from the best. So you've got a lot of content to cover. I'm going to hand straight over to you, Peter, and David Monroe-Jones, who's also on the call, is going to say a few words at the end. So we'll mute ourselves until it's time for Q&A, but over to you now, Peter.
Excellent. Thank you, Dawn. Hi, everybody. Delighted to be with you and have this opportunity to share with you some tried and tested and proven ideas for how we can take our knowledge, our experience, our expertise, and what I call the magic ingredient, and turn it into a vast variety of different ways of sharing what we've learned over life with so many more people than we probably dreamed possible, and not just sharing it with them on a one-to-one or even one-to-few or one-to-many basis. It's so that we can be making more money, but as a result of the difference that we make to other people. So to give a framework, because we are going to be talking about money a lot today, because this is how do I monetize my content, is I just have a framework for what we talk about and think about with money. And I think of it this way, that money is the silent applause for a job well done and value delivered to other people. If we have money purely, and I know you'll agree with this, if we have money as our only goal, then I think we get easily distracted by the latest shiny object. Whereas if we have making a difference as the goal and money as the result of making the difference, then I think that's a different way of being in business. And I'm sure it's one that resonates with you. So one thing to say right at the start of that is, despite being in business now for, would you believe, 47 years, I realized that I don't have all the answers, and that the world keeps on moving so quickly that I have to keep running to catch up. So I think about it this way: the day you stop learning is the day you stop earning, because there's always new ideas to learn all the time. That's why I'm a lifelong learner. I listen to audio programs, I watch videos and webinars, I read books all of the time. I can't say I read every day, but I would say I pretty much read almost all of the days, because if I can spend some part of my day just soaking up new information, I think as Zig Ziglar said beautifully, unfortunately no longer with us as you know, it's what we learn today gives value to what we learned yesterday. And I think that's a really great idea. I don't know if you know the authors, Chip and Dan Heath, really great books that they brought out. Their first book was called Made to Stick. Their subsequent books are books like Decisive, Moments, various other ones, really great books. And in one of their books, I think it's the Decisive book, another one's called Switch, How to Change When Change is Hard. And in one of those books, they have this expression, which they didn't write themselves, they got from somebody else. And I think it's the best expression I've heard for the last 10 years. And I wish I'd written it. And it's this: resistance is created through a lack of clarity. And I think that's a beautiful expression. Resistance is created through a lack of clarity. And I think it's so relevant to everything that we do in life, but particularly with sharing our knowledge, experience, and expertise, and particularly the marketing of that as well. If somebody comes to our webpage and they don't know exactly what to buy, can you do a mute all on this, Dawn? So this we're okay with this. I think you can do a mute all as the host, can't you? That would be good. Okay, that's great. So if people come to our website and they're not absolutely clear how to buy our digital products, then they will resist and they won't buy them. I think if we're unclear about what we're trying to achieve in life, then we don't take the right actions. So clarity for me is what it's all about. So with a bit of luck and a fair wind, what I'm going to hopefully give you today, in fact I'm sure I will, is I'm going to give you some real clarity on how to take the information that we have, our knowledge, experience and expertise and the magic ingredient, and turn it into so many different products and services. Now, to give you a fraction of background so it makes some sense, I'm not going to talk about me very much, I want to talk about what we need to do, is, as I mentioned, I've been in business for a long time, I still don't have all the answers. And I sold a business that I had, a leasing business some years ago, would you believe, back in 1989, and moved out of that business in 91. And I thought to myself, I'd sold it for a lot of money and I'd retired for a while. And I thought, what should I do with myself? And I thought, well, I love sharing my ideas. So I went to Nightingale Conant, who are the world's biggest audio training company. And I said, look, I've made this product and I've done the marketing stuff for it. Would you like to do some stuff with me? And they said, well, that particular product isn't quite what we're looking for, but would you lead the field for us for the UK market, which I did. And from there, I realized what a market there was in helping other people and being paid for it. I mean, talk about the ideal business. The reason I love being in the business that we're all in, which is the helping business, is the fact that we get to choose all the various things we want. We get choice. We get freedom. We get choice of why we do it. We get choice of who we do it with. We get choice of when we do it, what time of day we do it, or what time of year. We get choice of where we do it. We get choice of how much money we make. We get choice of how much time we do and how much time we take off. We're in the ideal business as far as I'm concerned. We share what we know. We make a difference to people's lives, and we get total and utter choice in everything that we do. And looking forward in my life, thinking about that, I thought, what better business could I be in? So over the last 27 odd years, I think it is, I've been writing, creating and marketing informational products. I've probably done about 7 or 8 books, 100 audio programs, 100 video programs. I have an e-zine called tgimondays.com, and I just filmed yesterday number 820 of those. So I've been doing that for about 16 years. I love newsletters. Today I'm going to talk about subscription products, because one of the ideal ways of sharing what we know is by a subscription product. And just imagine, the start of every month, you open the door on the first Monday of the month, and these sacks of checks and cash come through the door. I mean, what a business to be in, the fact that you get paid up front and it all happens. So we're going to talk a lot about subscription products as well. If you have any questions whatsoever at any time, please do put something in the chat box. And Rachel, who's my PA, and Rachel and Beverly and the team together, we've been working together now, would you believe, for 34 years we've worked together. And so I think we know each other pretty well. And so Rachel will be spotting the chat box, and if I don't see it, I've got my phone here on silent, but she'll send me a text to remind me to answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions at all about anything we talk about, please do ask me. So that's a bit of the background. I think there's a concern when we start to talk about taking our knowledge, experience and expertise and putting it into products and services, that people say to me, but Peter, there's so much free stuff out there. Will people still pay for stuff? And it's right to be suspicious about this, because there is, and I was going to say an abundance of free stuff. I think it's a plethora of free stuff. There's an overabundance of free stuff out there, but people will still pay, because what we need to do is to erect the paywall in the same way that newspapers do. And magazines, they put out a load of free information, and then there's a point at which you have to pay in order to get the other information that they've got to share with you. In the same way that's what I do. I put out TGI Mondays every week as a video. It used to be written, and we put that out into the marketplace. We'll put it on LinkedIn. We'll put it down to our list every week as well. And we'll send it to thousands of people worldwide. And we're happy to share that information, a bit like a podcast, but it's a sort of a vlog, if you like. It's almost a V-cast because it's video. And that's the start of the sharing the information. But once we get past that point, to get access to the rest of the information that we know, the other ideas, then people start to pay at different levels, from, let's say, at the top, about £15,000 a month, all the way down to £25 a month. So these are the things that we've been able to do to monetize our knowledge, experience, and expertise. So that's what I'm going to be going through. So let me see if I can dispel some myths for you. And you gather I've got my notes down here. One of the things that I see people making a little bit of a mistake with is this, and I learnt this from a lady in New York, Paulette Ensign, and it's that we don't always share what you and I would consider to be the basic information. You see, because we're in the helping industry, because we're into personal development, because we're into business development and marketing and doing what we do, we almost take it for granted that the stuff we know, everybody else knows. They don't. The stuff that you and I would take as basic, absolute basic stuff, you know, doing a do list every day, having your goals set, being in charge of your diary and your filing, all the basic things that give you a platform from which you can jump to success, we take that for granted. And yet most people in the world actually don't do it. I've tested these things across the world. When I used to do a lot of conference speaking, I don't do that anymore. But I would urge you to share what you consider to be basic stuff, because there is a big market for what we consider to be basic information. So that's one myth. Here's another thing for you. When we share the precise steps that somebody needs to take in order to achieve the outcome they want from our stuff, that's when it becomes valuable. When we actually share the precise how-to steps. There's a lot of videos, there's a lot of webinars, there's a lot of information out there which talks about why and talks about what, but doesn't tell you how. But if we're different from that and we share how, that's why people will pay. So there we go. If we're in the training business, and I'm sure you are, and I'm sure a number of people who will see this webinar in the training business, I wonder if you've ever come across, you probably have, but if you haven't, no problem, the Ebbinghaus effect. For those I can see, and I can only see a couple of people, perhaps you can even put it in the chat box. Have you come across, give me a thumbs up if you can see me, or type in there, have you actually heard of the Ebbinghaus effect? Rachel's typed it in for us. Sean, have you heard of the Ebbinghaus effect? Yes, no? Yes, you have?
No.
No, okay. No. What about you, Lorna? No? Okay, well, look, this is going to make you make a fortune out of this, by the way. Okay, so here we go. There was some work done by Hermann Ebbinghaus, a German scientist, way back in the mid-1800s. And he did some stuff, what was called, and you'll find this online, I would urge you to go look it up, called the Ebbinghaus curve of forgetting. And it's how people forget information. And what happens a lot of the time is that when we do training, people, and you'll know this to be true, they don't hang on to the information very long. And therefore, we are not doing for them the best service we could do unless we provide follow-up material to the training that we've done. Let me give you an idea on this. Way back when I used to do sales training, which is 25 years ago, I used to do a course, and I didn't call it back to basics. I used to call it forward to basics, because most of the salespeople I was meeting hadn't got the basics in place. They hadn't got journey plans. They hadn't got a practiced opening. They didn't know the features and benefits. They certainly couldn't close. They weren't aware of body language and all the basic stuff that we take for granted. They weren't doing it. So just for fun, with the sales directors I was dealing with, we used to play with it and call it forward to basics. But what I created was, I created this, and you can see how long ago this is. It was called Action is the Key, and it was actually cassettes in those days. Look at this. God, do we remember that? I know you do, Sean. I can tell from the grey hair you remember this, that's for sure, right? So I made this program, and there were 15 of these boxes, which meant there were 30 cassettes in it. And I used to sell this 25 years ago at £300 a set. And I would not do any of my sales training unless every single member of the sales team I was training had their own personal set of this. However, I wouldn't deliver it at £300 up front. It was delivered monthly at £20 a month, therefore it was easy on the budget. But it also meant that the company was locked into me for 15 months while this was being delivered as part of the sales training program they were paying for. You know as well as I do that much of the stuff you can train people in, they actually don't end up going to use it. Why? There is a reason for it. This is what I found over those 27 years. People will never consistently do who they aren't. And who somebody is their identity, their beliefs, their values, their skills, their capabilities. You know this stuff. And so if we're trying to get someone to do something that is out of alignment with who they are, they won't do it for very long. Now, if we teach them stuff that really works, but they don't use it, they don't get the results, who are they going to blame? They're not going to blame themselves, are they? People don't blame themselves. They're going to blame me or you for not doing the right training. And yet we know our training works. So by providing the follow-up information, it means that they can revisit the ideas again and again and again at minimal cost, and that their managers and leaders can help coach them through the material as well. Therefore, making sure the ideas get into action, they get the results that they were paying for, everybody is happy. Now, to give you a really powerful way of making extra money with this, and doing a good job, by the way, this isn't ripping anybody off, this is delivering true value, is I was once asked by a very big company with 270 salespeople to quote for doing some training work with them. And somebody else was quoting as well, which happens sometimes in life. And their quote, which was, and I'll give you the exact numbers, it's a long time ago, £60,000, and my quote was £95,000. But I'd got the Ebbinghaus effect stuff sorted with follow-up material. And I said to the client, straightforwardly, openly and honestly, if you do not have follow-up material in order to counteract the Ebbinghaus effect, you might as well take the training budget and flush it down the drain, because you will totally and utterly waste it. Now, whether you use me or not doesn't matter. I don't mind. That's your choice. But if there's no follow-up material, please, I urge you, don't waste your money. And that's the truth of it, total truth of it. I got the deal. The other one was a major international training company at 60. I was in 95 and I got the deal. I'm not saying that to be flash, you know me already. So this is why the Ebbinghaus is so important to you. Now, I want to possibly share with you, in fact, I'll get Rachel to send a copy to Dawn so she can send it out, my avatar diagram. This is my personal diagram for when I'm making informational products, whether it's I'm doing a webinar like this, or I'm creating a tips booklet, or I'm creating one of my books, or I'm creating an audio program. This was one of my subscription products. We've put that there. Whatever I'm creating, I'm working with my avatar diagram to make sure that I have in my mind a clear picture of the person that I'm talking to. And Rachel will send Dawn a copy of this and I'll send it out to you so that you can look at it. You obviously won't be the same for you, but it will give you the key ideas so you can start to say, ah, yes, who am I, is it that I'm talking to? What's their hopes? What's their fears? What keeps them awake at night? What's their wants? In other words, we're not just looking at the demographics of the people we're going to talk to, we're looking at the psychographics, or in other words, why they buy what they buy, not just who they are and where they are. And once we have clarity, back to the old idea, resistance is created through a lack of clarity. Once we have clarity on who they are, where they are, and why they buy, boy, does that make our marketing so much easier. After all, again, as you know, if we're in the coaching business, we're not in the coaching business. The business does coaching. Our actual business is the marketing of coaching services. If we have a training business, the business is the marketing and sales of training services. And that's where sometimes people run into difficulty. It isn't that they can't do the doing of the business. They can do the doing. It's the marketing of it, and it's digitizing their content. So I want to talk about a number of ways that we can digitize. Here's number one way of making a lot more money with the information that you already have in your mind. In fact, your knowledge, experience, and expertise, and what I call the magic ingredient. Let me tell you what it is. The magic ingredient is your take on it. Nobody else has your take. They have knowledge, they have experience, they have expertise, but they don't have that special something, which is your take on it. And that's what people pay for. It's because you are irreplaceable. There's only one you. You know, people say I'm almost unique. You can't, it's a false comparative. You can't use the word almost with unique. Unique is unique, that's it. And there's only one of each of us. And therefore, that's that special bit, the way that we interpret ideas that come to us, that's what people pay for. So here's an idea for you. I would urge you with every offering, let's define two terms here. There's the offering and the offer. The offering is what it is that you have, what it is, what it does for the other person. So let's say you have a training course. Well, the training course is part of the offering. Here's the detail of it. What it does for somebody is also part of that offering. The offer is how much they pay for it, and what bonuses they get, and what period of payment, and all those other things. So that's the offering and the offer. I would urge you to have, with everything that you do, a deluxe version of it. Now, why would you do that? Well, because I've found over the last 20 plus years that at least 5 to 10% of my clients, and I prefer the word client to customer, 10% of my clients will want a more in-depth version of what I do. Now that in-depth version might be more time with me, or more time with Beverly and with Rachel, or we might be doing more work for them. So it's more hands-on. We're working more with them, not just sharing information. Because as you know, you can share with people what to do. You can share how to do it. You can then do it with them. And then as you go up the escalator, you can do it for them. So you can have these various packages of offering, done with you, done for you, or just pure information. But if you have a deluxe version, then you could find that your deluxe version will be 5 to 10 times the price of the basic one. Now, I started in business in 1972. It's a long time ago. And even back then, we had a deluxe version of the product we were offering. I was a private investigator. We were tracing absconded debtors for big companies. And we would have our basic version. We'd have a deluxe version. The same today. And so you might have a basic program that you offer, but I would absolutely urge you to have a deluxe version. And this is how you do it. And again, Rachel will send Dawn a template that I've created. Because what I do is and this will help you when you're making your products, so you digitize them. I make templates for everything because I like to give people the exact steps to take in order to get the outcome that they want. So what you can do is, if you've got a piece of paper, and I've got some spare bits of paper here, I'll find one. Here we go. I'll work on the back of this one. 2 seconds. I'll get a bit of paper. Not fall off my chair. Yeah. So what we do is we get a piece of paper. There's a template for this which Rachel will send to Dawn. She can send it out for you. And what I'm going to do is just got that little diagram there, as you can see. Yep. With compliant. Rachel, can you see that clearly? Just nod at me. Yes, you can. Good. Right. So in this left-hand side here, we're going to put the details of what we can be offering in this particular product or service all the way down this column. And then we're going to have, we'll call it standard, deluxe, and deluxe plus. So the columns are called standard, deluxe, and deluxe plus. So having got all the details of what it is that we can offer, the offering, we'll say, right, in standard, you get that, you get that, you get that. In deluxe, you get that, you get that, you get that, but you also get this and this. And in deluxe plus, you get that, you get that, you get that, you get that. Oh, and you also get this and this. You've got the idea, haven't you? Very simple. And you've seen this sort of thing online, or you've seen it if you're going to buy a new car. And the salesman sits down with you and says, oh, do you want that radio there? Do you want to all those different things? And then once you've got that, then you can start to offer this different version, in the marketplace. So for example, it could be that there's the basic training with some Ebbinghaus follow-up, but then there's some coaching that goes with it that makes it the deluxe program. Or then there's a longer-term coaching or more advanced coaching that goes with it that makes it deluxe plus. I'm sure that made some sort of sense. Sean, I've actually got you as big screen. I'm looking at you more than I'm looking at anybody else. Give me a thumbs up if that all made sense. Sean, did that make sense? Yes, it did. Okay. Yeah, it made sense. Fantastic stuff. Okay, that's excellent news. Now, one of the ways of digitizing your information for both lead generation and for profit generation is to create a book. Let me share with you the latest research on books and how long books should be, because I think this is going to knock your socks off. It did for me when I heard this. I got this information from Dan Sullivan and Joe Polish. Dan Sullivan runs a business called Strategic Coach in America, where he deals with very successful entrepreneurs. Very, very good guy, fantastic information. Joe Polish, absolutely, used to be a carpet cleaner, then taught carpet cleaners, and is now one of the top marketing people in the world. Both of them very good at what they do. And this is the research they shared with me, which helped me write my latest book. I don't know if I've got a copy of it here. I've got it somewhere. I've just moved home, by the way, just last Thursday. So stuff is in boxes all over the place, including in the garage. So as you might, I'm just not quite sure where everything is at the moment. Fortunately, I know where the camera and my computer is. So here's what Dan taught me. If your book is between 60 and 80 pages, you will get 80 to 100% readership. That's interesting, isn't it? Now, I believe that you and I are the sort of people who want people to read our book. We don't just want them to buy it. We want them to get a benefit in their life from our information, our knowledge, experience, and expertise, and our take on it. So if we want people to read our book, we want high readership, we mustn't make the book too long. I was talking to a guy in London this morning, who does leadership. I was introduced to him by a friend of mine, and he was talking to me about his book. 240 pages. A 240-page book is a doorstop. It's not a training program. What are you going to use it for? No one reads 240-page books. Here's the deal. 60 to 80 pages, 80 to 100% readership. 100 pages, it drops to 3% readership. 200 pages drops to 1% readership. Right? It's just an exercise in vanity. That's all it is. It's all it becomes then is a very heavy business card, which is great. I mean, it's lovely to have a book to give to somebody and ask them if you'd like to sign it. They'd like you to sign it for them. But my latest book is 67 pages, and it took me 80 minutes to write it. 80 minutes. And the reason I wrote it in 80 minutes, I just did a webinar. I recorded the webinar. Rachel sent it off, had it transcribed. We then had somebody edit it a bit, then it came back. Rachel and I sat down with it, went through it. Then we gave it to Beverly. She went through it. Bingo, a few weeks later, book finished. And the book is called How to Write Your Business Book in 5 Days or Less. Because you can easily write a business book in 5 days or less. You only need 10,000 words. Now, if you think of a piece of A4 paper in 10-point font Verdana, that's 400 words, right? So when it comes into the printed book bit, it's only 250 words on a page. So 40 pages of 250 words, 10,000 words. Then some diagrams, then some cartoons, then some action plans, then some other explanation, then some quotes, then some summaries, then a bio about you, then a call to action for the next bit on the journey. Bingo, book made. That's it. And of course, these days, with the fact that you can have your book printed on demand, that my latest book, it costs £2 and it's full colour. It's £2. And how many do you need to buy at that price? One. You don't have to buy 3,000 of them these days. You just buy exactly what you need. So if you haven't yet got a book, I would absolutely urge you to write a book. I have had made a piece of software that's online, and I'm going to talk to you how you get access to this. And you go online and you follow my instructions and you write the book online. You press one button, it downloads the completed manuscript to your desktop. Bingo. And then you send it off to the editor, the printer, whatever you decide to do with it. I'm a great believer in self-publishing because I think that's where the money is. Now, here's another important point from today when we're talking about informational products. The book that you make is probably not going to make you a lot of money. Some people make money out of books, but most people don't. That's just the way of life, isn't it? Just the way it is. However, the words that you've taken out of your mind and put onto paper, those words that you put into a book will subsequently make you a lot of money. Let me explain. One of my books, here it is called, see this here? Yes, you can. It's called Sell Your Way to the Top. I wrote this way back when first published in 1993. So there we go. That's nearly, what's 25 years ago I wrote this book. This book sells for £9.99, published by Kogan Page. Yeah. I took the information in this book and I made it into an online digitized product as well as a physical product. It was called the Accelerated Business Growth System. It was me into camera talking as I'm talking now, but in 20-minute chunks. So I divided my information in 20-minute chunks, and there were 36 of them. So that's 12 hours of material. Now, I'm sure with your stuff, you've probably got at least 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30 hours of material. I easily got that. If the subject you're passionate about, you'll definitely have that sort of level of material. 12 hours of videoed material. It was then made into a product, and I've just got one part of it here. This is it here. You can see it here. The Accelerated Business Growth System. This was volume 3. It had workbooks. It had these, in those days when it was first done, it had CDs, beautifully made. So it had CDs, all nice and shiny, and etc. So there it was. Workbooks, etc. Great big box it used to go out in. And now, of course, it's online. It used to sell for, instead of the book at £10, it sold at £3,000 per set instead of £10. And the clients got a better result from it because this book, which is 203 pages long, because I didn't know any better in those days, nobody's reading it because it's too long. People don't read long books unless it's a very niche subject or by a very well-known author. I've read the latest Robert Cialdini book, which is called Persuasion. It's 200 and something pages, but I've read all of it because I'm fascinated by the subject. But the general reader is not going to read a 200-page book. So people can either buy this and do nothing with it, or they can buy a video version of it with an audio follow-up and workbooks and et cetera, at £3,000 it was in those days before it was digitalised. We sold 600 copies of it. 600 copies at £3,000 a piece is £1.8 million. This is how we make money out of our information, by focusing it and explaining it in such a way that people can use it, because we've given them the step-by-step way of using the information and getting the results that they want. The feedback that we got from that program was fantastic. The money that people made from it. So this is how we can digitize it. Now, you can take that information these days, obviously, and put it online. So we have that online, and we have it on a platform called Kajabi. It's a well-known platform, Kajabi, Kajabi. It's a well-known platform. And so the information is stored on there. So if you did that with your information, then you can sell licenses to access it. And you could sell it that it was one payment, or it could be a monthly payment. Well, how about this? Let's talk about subscription. I'll just have a swig of my tea. Let's talk about subscription programs for the moment. I would urge you to have a subscription program. And let me talk to you about the various ones that you could have. A mentoring program or coaching program could be a subscription program. So it'd be quite simple that you would meet your mentees every month. So about 10 years ago, Rachel, Beverly and I and our colleague Steve, we set up a mentoring program for coaches, consultants, speakers, trainers, people like me and they. And we did this, and we did people, about 15 to 20 people in each group. And they paid between £500 and £1,000 per month to be in the program. And it was a 12-month program. So it's a very profitable business, and it's a subscription-based business. And we used to meet with these people for 1 day every month over the 12-month period. And during that period, we'd get guest speakers in. The members themselves would speak and share their ideas. I would share ideas. My colleague Steve and another colleague Jason would share their ideas. And we were helping those people not only grow their businesses, but also showing them how to write, create, and market informational products. So one version of a subscription program could be a mentoring program or a coaching program like that. However, you could have another version, and you could have it where you are delivering the information online on a monthly basis, a bit like you could call it a newsletter or a continuity program, that every month you're posting new information into the online portal and giving people access to it for their monthly payment. So there's another way of doing it. Or is another version of it. You could have an online portal where people have total access to all of the material in there at any one time. They just continue to pay their subscription to be able to access the portal, and every so often you upload new information, but you're not tied into doing it month after month after month. Let me give you some ideas about how it works in different ways. So this was the Achiever's Edge. Again, I've got the old versions out. I've got all the new versions and the online versions, but I couldn't find them yet. So this was the original Achiever's Edge, and this was a monthly audio newsletter. To give you an idea of how this works, I would sit down and record. It's audio, it was always audio. I would sit down and record about 25 minutes of information in various topic areas. So it might be a bit of leadership, a bit of management, a bit of selling, a bit of personal development, that type of stuff. And then I would interview somebody, so I would always have an interview of the month. And then I would have a review either of a book or another audio program. And I might have another guest presenter do a few minutes. And the total of the time would be about 70 minutes per month. And that would go out originally on cassette. It could also be a paper-based version as well. And the subscription was £10 per month. So you could think of doing this as a subscription. These days, it wouldn't be £10 a month. That was 20 odd years ago. So, but it was £10 a month. Now, we ran that for 13 years. And over that period, we averaged 1,500 subscribers a month. And the way that we got those subscribers, and again, I would urge you to try this for yourself, is we let people have 3 issues free of charge to see that they liked it. So it was basically try before you buy. So we would say to people, look, we are very happy to send you 3 issues of this, no charge at all, and always ask if you pay £2.97 just towards the postage and packaging, which costs more than that. And that was a very attractive offer in the marketplace, and people said yes. So we got an average of 1,500 subscribers over that 13-year period. Well, if you take the idea of 13 years with a product that sells at £10 plus £3 P&P, £13, there's 12 months in a year, and we did it for 13 years. Let me tell you what those numbers come to. £3,042,000. And that's on a £10 product. And of course, today, informational products are not at £10, they're £50, £100, £300. I was subscribing to one in America, it's $397 a month. I know the guy, I think it's fantastic material, but subscription programs these days are far more expensive than that. So let's imagine that you could create a subscription product whereby you were charging, let's say, £50 a month. And I'm sure you'd have enough material every month for that type of thing, particularly with interviews, where people love interviews. I've interviewed 172 people. And people said to me, Peter, how did you get the interviews? I said, I used a 4-word secret of success. Pick up the phone. That's all you do. You pick up the phone and call people and say, can I interview you? And you know, most successful people say yes. And I specialized in 20-minute interviews, so I wasn't asking too much of their time. So I'm sure that you could do that. Let's imagine that you had a subscription product for the sake of a number at £50 a month. And it took you a whole year of marketing to get up to 200 members, subscribers. Yeah. 200 times £50 is £10,000 a month. You're then at an ongoing run rate, providing you keep them and providing good information, of £10,000 a month, £120,000 a year. You do that for 5 years, you've got £600,000. I mean, that's how this multiplies. This is the power of sharing your knowledge, experience, and expertise. So if you don't yet have a subscription product, I'd urge you to have one. Here's another one you might consider. We have a portal one, by the way, and it's currently called the Achievers Hub. And it's a hub in which we have poured we've got 50 or 60 of the interviews in, loads of material for me on selling, on marketing, on how to write programs. There's even a program in there. Here it is. This is the transcript of it. How about this for a title? How to run a profitable subscription program. So I've actually done an hour's webinar on this, which I've recorded. This is the transcript of it. You can see it here. I'm just checking where we are in the camera. You can see this here. This is the actual transcript of it. So you can get access to the transcript and the video of me explaining how to do it. And I did another video explaining how to interview people. And I posted the 30 questions that I used to interview people in there as well. So you could have an online portal like that. We have the Achievers Hub. Or how about this one? I love this one. How about a webinar series? How about doing a monthly webinar with your clients where you charge it as a subscription program? Now, we have one. It's called the Achievers Club. The other one's the Achievers Hub, and that one's called the Achievers Club. And so what we do, we allow people to try it at a minimal price to see if they like it. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a moment or two. But that is where I meet with the members for about an hour and a half, sometimes drifts up to 2 hours every month, just like this. A lot more interactive than this one, because this one I'm just sort of hose piping information to you for our first meeting, just to give you all sorts of ideas to be able to take these away and use them. But you could meet with the people and people pay all sorts of levels on that. We've done that at £197 a month. We've done it at £97 a month. We've done it at £50 a month. There are all sorts of different prices. So how about if you had a membership program? For example, there was a webinar series. And let's say, for example, it was £100 a month for the sake of a number. And let's say that you only had 50 members and it took a year to get there. You have 50 members paying you that's £5,000 a month. That's £60,000 a year, because you've taken your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, and you've developed it in such a way that people are able to access it directly from you. So there's all these different ways of taking the different ideas that you have and converting them into different products. So let me just summarize for a second. You could have an online product, which is 10 to 12 hours of video, and that will sell these days from £1,000 to £2,000, depending on your marketplace. And you could either ask for that money up front, or you could ask for it over a period of time. You could make it a year-long program if you wanted to. You could physically meet with people a day a month, 3 hours a month, 2 days every other month. The way we have a program called 100 Plus, the 100 Plus Club, and we meet with people for 2 days live every other month, not every month, because we found every month was a bit off from that one. 2 days every other month. And on those 2 days, we work on all the stuff together. There's time to work on it, so people actually come out with completed things. You know, it's a fantastic program. So all these different offerings are for people to have exactly what they want from us, but at a different level of commitment and a different level of money and a different level of speed of outcome. So again, it's having this escalator of offerings and saying, what is it that works for me personally that enables me, A, to live the life I want to live, and B, to give my clients what it is that they want. So you could have your online program, your big program. Then you could have the various subscription programs, remembering that the words in your book are only the words that will subsequently make you a fortune, providing you turn it into the right informational products that the market wants, not what the market needs. You will go bust trying to find out what people need and satisfy it. I was told that by Ted Nicholas, and he was absolutely right. So I've done that with all of my various, but there's another of my books, The Secrets of Communication. This is a hardback book. Now, you know the difference between a hardback book and a softback? Cardboard. That's the only difference. And that it's got cardboard in it means it's more expensive. That's crazy, isn't it? But it's far better if you turn this into video. I was reading some research the other day from Cisco. I'm sure you've heard of Cisco Systems. And Cisco Systems are projecting by 2019 that 82% of internet traffic will be video based. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for video. So if you're comfortable into camera, doing what we're doing now, fantastic. If you're not, just create a keynote or PowerPoint presentation and talk along to that, but at least make it into a video. And here's a little inside secret for you. If you make videos, make sure you put the captions on, or in other words, subtitles, yeah? So that that's playing as well, because there's a high percentage of videos that are watched with the sound off. So whatever you do, if you use video, make sure you put the subtitles onto it. So there we go. I'm just going to take a moment here, Dawn. I'm just going to mention to everybody about the Achievers Club and how I want to give them this access to it. And with just the briefest of detail. Then I'm going to talk about the 4 questions that you must answer, pyramid opportunities, and a variety of other things, and I'll answer some questions as well. So I've mentioned 2 of the various subscription programs we have. One is the Achievers Hub and one is the Achievers Club. With the Achievers Club, I meet with you for an hour and a half to 2 hours like this on a webinar every month. And you also get access to the Achievers Hub, where that book writing software is there and all the templates for everything that I make and all the interviews. And I'd urge you to listen to the interview I did with Roy H. Williams, and I'll share one little snippet from it in a minute or 2 for you about how we deal with clients and customers and the difference between them. And I'd like you to go and have a try of that. And that only, the price is this, it's £5 or $7. And Rachel will put the link in the chat box for you, and you can go and have a look at that for a whole month. There's no rush. You can go and have a look at it for a whole month. Now, our next meeting, as we're recording this, and that will change obviously because we are recording it, is actually next Tuesday morning. So you can actually join me next Tuesday morning, and we're going to be talking about all sorts of things. We're going to be talking about digitizing, democratizing. We're going to be talking about how to get the right title. I have a process for creating titles of books. So this is the live event, happens to be next Tuesday. But you also get to access all of the portal, all of the interviews, all of the content as well. And then you have a full 30 days. And then, including the Achievers Club and the Achievers Hub, going forward, used to be £98 a month. However, we've restructured it, and it's now £49 a month, or if you pay in dollars, it's $67 a month. You don't have to pay that up front. It's £5 or $7 to access it and come to the live one and ask me any questions and join the private Facebook group that we have when we talk to each other and have access to all of our sources and resources. And once you've written your book, I'll even promote it to my list for you and to all of our social media. And to give you an idea, we're on LinkedIn, which I love the LinkedIn platform. We have 26,000 connections. So it's reasonable on LinkedIn to have a lot of connections, and we'll share with you the various marketing ways that we do it. So there's marketing, there's selling, there's personal development, all sorts of great information. So that gives you an idea, but please come trust me on that. Come and spend £5 or $7, give it a whirl, and come and join me on the live one next Tuesday. And if you happen to have missed the live one because you're watching the recording of this, then we always record those, by the way, and they're stored in the members area for you so you can go back to them, and we turn them into a transcript so you can even go back and read them and make notes on it at the same time. There is so much of that. I don't want to spend any more time. You've got the idea. Come and try it for yourself and you'll see just how powerful that is for you. And it will enable you to raise your fees, charge the right amount of money based on the value that you give. Lots more stuff about these things we're talking about today. And also get your book written and turn it into a lot of money by making a difference to more people's lives. Great. Okay, so moving on from there then. Next bit. Let's talk about the difference between customers and clients. Rach, did I miss anything out when I was talking about the Achievers Club and the Achievers Club? I don't think is she shaking or she's nodding or she's doing something. Oh, promote. Yes, I said promote book, didn't I? Yes, that's right. We did that. Great. Okay. I interviewed, this is fascinating. This just blew me away, this piece of information. I'll share it with you. I interviewed a man in the States called Roy H. Williams. He's known as the Wizard of Ads. The man is a genius when it comes to marketing. I mean, a real genius. And I interviewed him. Actually, it was a double-length interview. I did it as 40 minutes, but I published it as two 20-minute interviews. And he told me on there the difference between the client and the customer. And it changed the way that I looked at my business and changed part of the way that I market it. You probably gather, because I mentioned that Rachel and Beverly and I and Steve have worked together now for 34 years, that we are heavily into relationships, not transactions. So Roy said this to me. He said, Peter, actually he didn't say Peter, he said Peter, because he's American. So he said, Peter, right? He said, this is the way that it works. The relational client is expecting you to be the expert, and price is a factor, not the factor. Really important information. So I'll say it again. The relational client expects you to be the expert, and price is a factor, not the factor. Now, if those clients want us to be the expert, then we need to walk like the expert, talk like the expert, have a website like the expert, have products like the expert, have a book, because all experts have books. Not too long, of course, 60 to 80 pages. You know, we've got to have all the trappings that go with it. I'll give you an idea. I also interviewed Professor Robert Cialdini, the foremost expert on persuasion in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And Cialdini used to talk about 6 key factors of influence. Then there was 2 more, then he's added a 9th just recently. But one of those key factors is authority. People are persuaded by authority figures. And authority figures, there are 3 key factors in being an authority. They're these: title, trappings, and clothing. So if we need to have the right title of what we do. So for example, when your photo's on your website and your name is there, because we have to put our name there, don't we? Otherwise nobody knows who we are. What's the strap line for you personally? We need a strap line that positions us in the marketplace, because that's title, trappings, and clothing. So we know what trappings are. Trappings are things that shouldn't be, but they are: pens, cars, suits, stuff. But all this I've been showing, this is trappings. This is trappings. This is establishing credibility, isn't it, in the marketplace? So having the right trappings positions you as the authority figure. So I would urge you to have a strapline. I use a couple to give you an example of these, and I play along with them. One of mine is the UK's most prolific information product creator, because it's true. I've made more information products than anybody in the UK, probably more than anybody in the world, as it happens, but certainly more than the UK. When I used to do consultancy work, which I don't really do these days, I used to have a title which was the UK's leading strategist on business and personal growth, because I was at the time. And the fact that I'd added those 2 together, business and personal growth, I wasn't saying I was the leader in business or the leader in personal, but in the leader in those 2 together. So what could be yours? So going back to what Roy H. Williams said, so if you're looking for clients, they expect you to be the expert. However, when it's transactional, this is what happens. That's why I call customers. The transactional customer is their own expert, and price is everything. They're that small part of the marketplace that buys everything on price. context driven, of course, because some things they may not. But so I'll say it again for you. The transactional customer is their own expert and buys on price. So let's imagine somebody's buying a car. It doesn't matter if it's new or old. And they know all about that car. They know all the stats. They've been on the website. They've done the research. And they go around to 3 different dealers and they beat up each dealer and they play them off against each other till they finally get the cheapest possible deal on that price. That's the transactional customer. And as Roy said to me, the only way to upset them is to tell them they could have bought it £10 cheaper down the road once they bought it, because it's just purely a transaction, right? Now, I don't know about you. I am not interested in dealing with transactional customers. It's not my market. I don't think it's yours either. What I'm looking for is relational clients, people I can deal with for years and years and years. You know, I've got clients I've dealt with for 35 years. My clients become friends. They come to my home. We do things together. That's what we want, don't we? We want people who treat us as the expert because they realize the effort that we put in order to learn our craft, our information. They know that we do the research that we need to do, and that's the sort of person that they're looking for. And price is only a factor. That's where your deluxe version comes in. That's where your Ebbinghaus stuff comes in. That's where all of the best material that you've got comes in, dealing with clients who want the outcome they want. They really, really want it. So I think that's very important. So when we're starting to put together our information, let me share with you, as we're coming up towards the hour, 4 key questions that I would urge you to answer for yourself that really will make it so much easier for you to be able to write, create and market your informational products. And as you gather, I could talk about this for 3 weeks, let alone 1 hour. So here's 4 questions. I'll give you the 4 questions first, and then we'll go through them and I'll explain them in a little bit more detail for you, because they're apparently very simple, but very profound. Then the questions are these. Who are you? Who are they? Who are you to them? And who are they to you? So I'll say them again for you. So who are you? Who are they? Who are you to them? And who are they to you? So this is how it works. So when you're beginning to write a book or an audio program, a training course, a mentoring program, an online digitized product, whatever it happens to be, we need to be certain who we are. Here's some possibilities for you. You might decide that you are somebody who's had some results that you can share with other people. So you're what I call a results person. Or you might be somebody who's done a lot of research, and so into the particular topic in hand. Or you might be somebody who's interviewed a lot of people about it. So you're a reporter. So if you think of Napoleon Hill for a moment in the famous book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill was a journalist. And so he went round, having been introduced by Andrew Carnegie, to a load of very successful men. It was only men at that time. I don't mean it was only men who were successful. I mean, it was only men interviewed in America. And he interviewed all of these men. And from that research, that interviewing, that reporting, he created Think and Grow Rich, one of the best-selling books in the world, as you know. So, and then the credibility of the book rubbed off on him. So often people think that the content is Napoleon Hill. Well, it is, but it's his take on it, isn't it? He's interviewed these people, and then it's his take on it, which makes the book work so beautifully. So you could be results reporter or researcher, or a combination of any of those. So that get clarity, I would say, on who you are. Next, have clarity, which is why I'm sending you the avatar diagram. I could actually share my screen with you, and I'll see if I can just find it quickly and share my screen. 2 seconds. I was worried I'm not going to get back to you. Here it is. Avatar doc, avatar PDF. Wrong one. Avatar. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to just bring that up. See if I can share my screen. Share. Right. Can you see that document? Yes, you can see that. Okay. All right. So that's my avatar document, and Rachel's going to send you a copy of that, so that you can actually, I won't try and go through it now because I mentioned it earlier, but that gives me clarity of who I'm talking to. So who am I? I'm clear. Who are they? In other words, who's my marketplace? Who are these individuals I'm talking to? And here's a little side note for you. When you're talking to your marketplace, make sure you use singular language. Don't say things like some of you or all of you. That's the language from the front of stage. That's when we're talking to a known, visible crowd when we say some of you. When you're talking to somebody through the camera lens, or you're talking to them in a book or a tips booklet or whatever it might be, an online program, you're only talking to one person at a time. Same with the marketing. You know, I see emails coming in when people say, some of you, what are you talking to my left leg then? I mean, but would make any sense, does it? You know, so don't use that sort of plural language. So you'd be really clear with that. So question 3 then is, and this is a strange one, but it's so important, who are you to them? This is how I think of it for me. I'm Uncle Peter to my marketplace. It's naturally who I am. And it's like, favorite uncle expects the absolute best from you, won't accept any excuses, pushes you to be your best, 100% honest with you, whether it hurts or not. And that's my natural personality. You know, if you do anything with high D, if you know disc profile, I'm high DI, as you probably gather. Here I am in my pink shirt, you know, so I'm high D, but with a bit of I in that as well. So you understand who I am. So I'm really clear about this persona that I have, and it's naturally, authentically me. I know authentic is overused these days, but it is naturally and authentically me. So I don't have to rehearse to be me. I'm just me. And so if you're clear on who you are to your audience, as well as who you are to you, boy, does this make it easy to write, easy to film, easy to make product, easy to market. And the last question is, and I learned some great stuff from Rick Sheffro on this idea, is who are they to me? In other words, on a space-time continuum, timeline, where are they? Are they the first time they've come across me, in the sense they don't know me yet? Or are they at the other end where they know me, they like me, they trust me, and they've bought before? Because the way that we market to these people is just so different, isn't it? These people here who have never heard of us, we need to go out with let me tell you a story. Over here, people who know you, like you, trust you, bought before, you can say, oh, I've got a new one. Do you want one? I mean, what a different marketing message. So it's very, very important in order to be certain about who are you, who are they, who are you to them, and who are they to you. That will make such a difference to everything that you write and all of your marketing as well. Let me finish as we hit the hour with this one idea. When you come to create any informational product, whether it's a book, whether it's a tips booklet, whether it's online, offline, mentoring program, whatever it is, there's a question I always ask people. Firstly, it's why? Why do you want it? But secondly, it's what do you think is the first thing you write when you come to write an informational product? Now, people say to me, oh, it'll be the title. No, it's not. It'll be the information on the back of the book. No, it's not. It'll be the first chapter. No, it's not. The first thing you write is the order form, because the order form will get you to have absolute clarity on who you're talking to and the benefit that they get. And once you have that, you then write the informational product to match that promise. Does that make sense? I'm sure it did. Well, I can't believe it, but that was an hour. Whoosh, gone.
Exactly. Wow. And I think for a lot of us who have, as I say at the beginning, a lot of the training providers have been saying to me that, you know, they want to reach an international market and be able to touch more people's lives in a way that doesn't cost more money, either from them traveling to other countries or students coming to their country of where they do the training. So yeah. I think we could learn, you know, weeks and weeks worth of content for you. So from you. So just dipping in like this has been fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent. Well,
I have got a couple of questions, Peter. I'll dive in if I may.
Please do. Please do.
I mean, I think the first thing that strikes me is that we're all probably selling ourselves way too cheaply. You know, with all the things that you've talked about, monetizing this, monetizing that. And I don't know about a lot of the training providers on the call, but I know the IAPC&M are giving it all away for free. So yep. That's the first thing to address, and prioritizing it and putting values on it is quite important. I think I told you a little while ago, Peter, that there's a group of us. In fact, Lorna in Jamaica is one of the co-authors. We've written our first IAPC&M book, and you said you loved the title, How to Find Clients and Keep Them. So that will be coming out in the spring. I just wondered, with regard to the readership levels, we've got 7 co-authors writing about 15 pages each. How do we overcome that issue of the fact that it is going to be a big book, but actually it's easy to digest because it's 7 different authors. What should we do to make sure that people aren't put off? Any tips?
Okay. Yes. Well, firstly, number one, they will be put off. That's life, right? Number one. So I would suggest to you, there's a number of suggestions here. Firstly is to split it into 2 books, right? That's the first one. Secondly is, and I know these aren't good suggestions for you, but they're ideas to consider, right? Secondly is to think of it in this way, that you're going to take the information and you're going to cut down each chapter to its absolute essence, because I guarantee you, in the same way that I write, there's going to be some fluff in there that really could come out. And this could be absolutely hard-hitting. Every single chapter is taken down to its maximum benefit for the reader, and it's crystal clear. And if there's an example given, and the example takes 2 pages, cut it down to the essence of it and take 1 page. Because if you could get that to 80 pages, right? I know it's an anthology book. I've done anthology books before. We did a 12-author book years ago called The Pillars of Management. Rubbish title, but the content was good. But it's all about the title. The title is absolutely critical to the success of the book. You know, if you look at Alan and Barbara Peace and their series, Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps, brilliant title, absolutely brilliant title. Why? Because it has contrast. When you have good contrast in the title, it really works well. You know, the book by Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, a classic contrast title. Yeah. So How to Write a Business Book in 5 days or Less, contrast title. 5 days to a business book, not possible. Do you know what I mean? It's intriguing. So that. So you could cut it down. You could split it into different books. But I think the key one is to think of why you're doing it. And if the author's concerned, how many authors were there? 7, did you say?
7.
7, yeah. If the 7 authors' why for doing it is to be published, well, you got published. So you satisfied your why. If your why is to make money with it, take the information that you've put in the book and turn it into an informational product. Turn it into an online course. Have each author film their piece of it and make a fantastic online course. And the writing the book was how you made the course. It's not the book that's going to make the money. The other reason you're going to use it in that way, and I think I mentioned this to you, Dawn, is to make sure it's a hardback book and make sure it's got a dust cover. And the dust cover wants to be different for each author. So on the back of the book, like this, there's back of my book, big picture of me. Why? Because it's me. And on this one, I think there's a smaller picture of me. Yes, a smaller picture of me on this one, and what's called the bump. That's the proper word for it, is the bump on the back. So if you've got a dust cover like this one has, so this is the dust cover, right, on this one. This is a black book with a dust cover on. If you change the dust cover for each author, which is not expensive to do, that's what we did with our anthology book, suddenly what you've given each author is the most amazing business card. Because they then can present that book to somebody. They're not trying to con anybody, but they're using their key version of it and saying, look, here's my latest book. And I did this with 6 other authors as well. I'm in chapter 4. And you could even put a little card in the front, see chapter 4. You know, you put a sticky label on the front, a post-it note. Please see chapter 4. That's written by me, signed Lorna, right? And so that's what you do. And so that would really make it come to life, because you're answering the question, why did we do it? Because you didn't do it to make money out of a 200-page book. You know, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's one of the things Jordan at Sanity Marketing is going to help with, because I told him about your idea, so we will be doing that. So good.
Okay. I swapped emails with him today.
Good. So I guess for a lot of the training providers, their book is their training manual. They've already written it. They want to digitalize their course. I know, Sean, we've spoken before about how you're moving more into writing new content, reaching a bigger audience, and that essentially is your book. So
Excellent.
Any questions, anybody, for Peter while we've got his undivided attention for the next 15-20 minutes, please? Now is your chance. Apart from is it next Tuesday when you have another live event for the...
Yes, next Tuesday. And Rachel, Rachel will give you the link. So please do come and join us in the Achievers Club and get all the access to all of it.
Probably a much bigger audience there. So seize the opportunity now to ask you questions. So fire away.
Get hold of this. Yeah.
So can I shoot then, Peter?
Please do.
Yes, Lorna. Hi.
I mean, my head was just exploding. Wonderful.
Good.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Run 2 businesses. I'm a lawyer, and a coach, and I sort of work to combine both of those, as well as doing them separately. And I also train mentors for a mentoring program I have. So I mean, I can see lots and lots of opportunities to do this. But like most lawyers, I am technologically challenged. So we're also numbers challenged. It's not a myth, it's real. So in terms of just getting the job done in creating the videos, what sort of ideas do you have for the practical implementation of it?
By all means. Okay, so are you aiming to do the videos yourself?
Simple answer, no. Don't know where to start.
Okay, so, but I mean, are you aiming to be the talent, so to speak? You're going to be the person that talks to the camera?
Yeah, possibly. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, probably, yes.
Yeah, okay, great stuff. Okay, well, this is very simple. You obviously speak fluently. I can gather that already. You obviously know your stuff. Well, that's taken as read. So all you need is a very simple camera. Let me tell you which camera to get, which microphone to get, and how to actually do it, because it's very simple and inexpensive. The camera you can go and get, Rachel typed this in, is a Logitech C930E. Rachel typed that in for us. Yeah, she's doing it. You're there, Rach? Yes, she is. Oh, that's it. See, Rachel's put that in there. Logitech, P-E-C-H, Logitech. Yeah. So you'll get one of those on Amazon for about £70, so less than $100. Okay, that's the one I'm using today. Simple. The microphone I'm using today, let me show you, is this. This is called a Blue Snowball microphone. And it's just sitting on the desk out of camera view at the moment for me. You can hear me clearly, can't you, on it? Yeah. So that's good. And that's about £50–60 maximum. Yeah. Now I'm actually filming at the moment against a green screen. Yeah. So if I go back into Zoom here, and I'll actually show you where I really am. Okay. So if I just change my background here, okay, that's what I'm actually sat against. Okay, but I can just change the background to be what I want it to be. So I can be outside if you like, or I can be in the studio, yeah, or I can be in a forest if I want to be, or I can be talking about one of my programs, the Authors Society, or in a different office, or this one. So that's where I am today. So that gives you an idea there for the background. So isn't that simple? That's just good fun, yeah. So nice and simple. Very easy to edit it. Now, you probably don't want to do it all yourself. Oh, by the way, I've got two lights. I've got two lights up there, and the lights are £20 each. So we're talking $25, $30 maximum. So to actually set up the whole thing, you've got, you know, 70 quid, 130, 150, 170. If you want to, I mean, £200, $260. And there you've got it, done, the whole studio setup. I mean, we're talking for nothing, aren't we? Absolute pennies, pennies to set it up. And I've got a tripod, which probably cost another 20 quid or so. What you then do is record it and just plan first what it is that you want to say and do it in 10-minute segments maximum. So nice little 10-minute segments. And then if you go to your local arts college or technical college, you'll find people there who are taking courses on video production and TV and all the rest of it, who are always looking for part-time work. They'll be lowly paid, so it won't cost you a fortune either. They'll enjoy the experience of learning, and they will edit it for you using Final Cut Pro, iMovie, Adobe, whatever it is that they tend to use. I use iMovie because I'm on a Mac, and it's a piece of cake. All I did was I went onto YouTube and learned how to do filming. Simple as that. So, but the key to concentrate on for yourself, Lorna, is you are, this is the proper term, you're the talent. You're the person in front of the camera. You know, you are the key person. So just be you into camera, look down that camera lens and talk to one person. And say things like this: as you and I understand, when you're starting to do a mentoring program, there's a number of ideas you take into consideration. Let me share the top 3 with you now. Just fire it down that lens. That's what you do. Yeah?
Great.
That makes sense?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah?
My pleasure. Are you going to do it?
Of course. Yes.
When are you going to do it?
When are you going to do it?
Pretty much now. No, I've got tons of content. I mean, there's the book that Dawn was talking about. There's a course that I've written, and I'm trying to figure out ways to reach more people with it. So for me, it's a question of, which ones do I start with,
Excellent. Yeah. Well, when you're sitting in front of the camera, there's another little tip for you. Unlike where you're sat in the picture now, because you're in the bottom right-hand corner, you actually, when I actually film in this, and I film on the thirds. You see that grid behind me? Yeah. Can you see how that's a grid of thirds, right? And you actually want your eye line on that third, exactly where I am now. Oh. And so if I was presenting, I would be doing this. So as you can see, and you can see how this is nicely framed in the frame now. Yeah. If you watch the news, you'll see newsreaders sit off to the edge as well. They don't sit in the middle like this, right? They sit off to the edge here, right? Because it means you can demonstrate stuff. As I show you and watch QVC. Let me tell you about this cup. or HSN if it is, Home Shopping Network, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Cool.
I presume you've got all these little tips and tricks written down for us.
Oh yeah, it's all in. And funny enough, on Tuesday, I'm going to be doing some stuff. I've got a great section all about how to do videos, and it's on Tuesday in the Achievers Club meeting. So if you've decided to come and join us in the Achievers Club, and if you haven't, please do. I say your investment is £5 or $7 for the whole month. Come and experience it, and you'll see the sort of stuff that we do. And of course, we always template everything, Dawn, as you know. We've talked about it before, so that's what it is.
Could we also have a sample of a completed avatar, please, just so we can see the sort of detailed content that you put in rather than a blank template? I'd find that really helpful, please. Yes,
you can. Rachel will send you a copy of mine.
Yeah.
My personal one. I'm happy to share that with you. And a blank one so that you can work on it. And I've done it as a mind map because I like doing mind mapping for that type of thing. Some stuff I like listening, but I do like mind mapping for that sort of creative stuff. Mm-hmm. And funny enough, I interviewed Tony Bazan, who's the creator of mind mapping.
Yeah, mind map.
Very interesting man. Very interesting man.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So who else would like to ask Peter something? Speak now or forever hold your peace, at least.
Hold your peace. I'd like to ask something.
Go ahead.
Okay, Dawn, how do you get your internet when you're in your drivable wagon?
We have a little black box, and we use Movie Star, and we go and buy a SIM card. It's possible in Spain, but not in France. €70, right. Unlimited access. It's price prohibitive in France, absolutely ridiculous. But in Spain, no problems.
Excellent. Because funny enough, my internet has not been put at my house yet. It's coming in on Monday. It was supposed to be in this Monday, ready for this today. But in fact, the engineer was ill. So it's actually being put in next Monday. Right. So at the moment, I'm on a little black box with a SIM card in it. But I have to say, it seems to have worked pretty well today, I think.
It has. It has. Just going back to your equipment with the camera, the microphone, etc. I presume for the sort of quality, if we think about the title, the clothing and the trappings, then using the laptop, the webcam and the inbuilt speaker just isn't good enough.
You can use it. You can use it.
Right.
You do want good production value, as it's called. However, and this is my personal take on it, by the way, is that the most important thing is the quality of the information and your passion for sharing it. Because I'm sure that over the last hour, my passion for this subject must have come shining through, because you know how focused I am about this. I absolutely love doing what I'm doing. And so it's that passion and the quality of the information. People will forgive a little bit of sound, a little bit of video, if you're really good at it. But that's not to say you shouldn't be the best you can be. But the lens in my camera, even though it was only 65 quid, 70 quid, it's a Carl Zeiss lens, so you don't get much better than that. But if you want to do it in a studio, you can. I've known people do it in a studio. What I love is the fact I do it at home. I can set it up in just a few moments, and I can just do a video boom, straight away whenever I want to do one. And with setup cost being so low, it means you can practice and practice and practice. When I do my TGI Mondays, I call myself One Take Thomson, and I make a little promise to myself that I'm just going to keep talking and see what happens.
Yeah. I think that's quite an important point, actually, because not everybody is a public speaker, and so you have to psych yourself up and be in the moment and absolutely ready. So if it's all at home and it's all set up in a corner, and you think, yeah, I'm ready, you just go for it, rather than having to book a studio. I mean, Sanity Marketing, who I introduced you to and is going to meet all the training providers at another time, has that facility and support, but you've still got to go to London and book it. Whereas if you can do some of it yourself, you're more in control. It's more helpful.
It depends again on your marketplace. My marketplace is coaches, consultants, speakers, trainers, the people like all of us, training providers, and we're in the helping industry. And I think they're more forgiving than maybe the corporate market might be. So if your audience is the corporate market, you might want to think of slightly higher production values. I know I could mess about with the lighting and spend a bit more time, and I've got 2 green screens. I could put the other one alongside it. And for me, it's about the message. That's what I'm so keen on. It's just getting the message out there so that people understand not only what it is, but what to do with it so they can get the results. Because I'm just so focused on getting people the result that they want,
Yeah. Now, I know David, who's also on the call, he couldn't really wait for today's call. He had to go and meet you ASAP and went to your all-day event last week. So, David, what questions, did you have as a result of spending a whole day? Because if our heads are buzzing after 1 hour, I can only imagine what you went through after a day of learning. So, on reflection, what, if anything, would you like to ask Peter?
There's nothing that I would really like to ask. I think that the movement from sort of writing a book and then digitalizing it and creating it into a course and then sort of evolving it, was really, really important. And so I couldn't stress that anymore. And I think the conversation that we were having about what we can do with the book and so and how it evolves from there. And I think, potentially as well, very similar to the programs that Peter has and the groups that Peter has about, if it becomes an online program, what can it evolve into, after that, so that it can almost become a community, I think is really great. The other thing two things that, from the multitude of things that I took away, and I'm still referring to all of my notes on a regular basis, was the importance of this strap line and making that statement of being the leading, and not being frightened to say that, and not being frightened to be challenged on it, and being able to turn around and say, well, look, I've done the training, I've done the work, I've created the programs, and defending your corner in that, I think is really, really important. And I know that certainly from a personal perspective, it was tugging at my, the self-confidence bit a little bit and going, I'm not really too sure about that. But I think it's really important. And the other aspect as well, this difference between the relational client and the transactional client, the difference between where price is, not really that important versus the one who is just, price orientated, I think is, just so important to, to get your head around.
I think David's a good point, because a lot of people say that people are price sensitive. I don't think they are. I think most people are value sensitive. I don't think it's a price. I think it's a value situation, and the value hasn't been properly explained to them. Therefore, resistance is created through this lack of clarity. There are a few people who are price sensitive, but most people aren't. Because if the world was price sensitive, you wouldn't have 5-star hotels, and you wouldn't have expensive motor cars, and you wouldn't have the various deluxe versions. You wouldn't have first class on a plane or a train or a boat. It just wouldn't happen. So I don't think it is. There isn't a price problem. If there is a price problem at all, it's usually between our own ears and not the client's ears.
I think that's really important, because when I did my training as loath to say this, but at one point I was a BS 5750 quality assessor.
Oh no.
Yeah, I do not put that on my CV anywhere. So like I hide that with it as much as possible. But one of the things that came out of that was this, this whole concept about fit for purpose. That if you put a value on something and you understand what that value is, then that's what you work towards, rather than if you take the the 5-star hotel aspect. Many of them are fully booked in the same way that travel lodges are fully booked. It's that question about, well, what do you actually need? What's the value that I'm getting? And I think that the other thing that comes out of that as well, and I know you touched on it on your program, was the importance of what other people are saying about your product and being able to like maximize that and get other people to endorse what you're doing.
Good.
Because certainly when I came down to your event, I had a look at a number of the reviews at different hotels, and there were some of them that I just decided, I'm just not going there. And the linking those comments about what people are saying to the value of it and what they're getting out of it and how they're applying it and how, what they're doing, I think is equally really, really important.
Surely is, absolutely right. And again, we didn't talk about fees particularly, but I think people would realise what we're saying here is, and I'm very keen on this, is that we are being paid for the value that we deliver. And I do find that most coaches, consultants, speakers and trainers I deal with are totally undercharging for the value that they bring to the party. And that's really maybe because they haven't had the opportunity to learn how to position the price properly. But, again, all of these things I'll be covering on the Achievers Club. I do it all the time because I'm really keen on people in our industry being paid properly because of how much value we do deliver to people.
It's also a confidence issue, Peter. You think there are so many people in the market. Well, who am I to say that I'm the best at such and such? But as David is often saying to me, well, you go to an airport and you look at the book stand, every author can't be a #1 bestseller, but they've labelled themselves as that, so why not?
Yes, I know. I'm a bit worried about, there's a thing, a lot of creation of so-called bestsellers these days. But here's my thought for you. There's a difference between being a bestseller and being best read. I'd rather be best read book in the world than the best-selling book in the world. Because there's many ways to make money out of information, not just being a bestseller. I want people reading my stuff. I want them listening to it. I want them taking action with it. I want them making a difference with it for themselves and other people. Then I'm getting well paid. Yeah,
not totally different to our philosophy with the IAPC&M. We don't want to be the biggest for the sake of being the biggest. We actually want to be the best, and that's based on value, testimonials, and support that's given. Anyway.
Yeah, and you're right, Dawn, about the confidence thing. We have this little expression: you have to live in a little village just south of Arrogant.
That's a good
Sean.
Say again, Sean.
Peter, thank you for the very interesting and very inspiring talk today.
Thank you.
And you speak about offers and putting offerings online. How does one drive traffic to that when having done?
That's the burning question of the day, isn't it? Well, one of the things I believe that we should be doing, Sean, in almost every day of our business is building our list and building our connection. So building our actual own email or marketing list, whether it's for direct mail or for email marketing. We should be building our various social media platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whatever it is that we decide that we're going to be out on. And we concentrate really more on LinkedIn and Facebook than anything else. But we also are forever building our own list. And so that's the first point, is to build a list of people who are receptive to our message. And the way that we do that is by putting good quality content out into the marketplace or offering the first 3 chapters of your book. So once you've digitized that content, then you can start to bring people in to sample it in some way, but making sure that what we're sampling is really good stuff. There's a brilliant book by a guy called Herschel Gordon Lewis, who was a film producer. And he's got a book called Sales Letters That Sizzle. And in there, he has this great expression. He says, fire your big guns first. So I think what we need to do is to, when we go out to the marketplace with our content, make sure we're putting really great content out, the best that we've got out there, because then people look at it and go, wow, this guy knows some great stuff. I like his. Let's look at what else he's got. But if you hide your light under a bushel, as they say, and you put out your second-rate stuff, then everybody goes, well, this ain't very good. I don't need any more of this. So, you know, we've got to put the really good stuff out first.
Okay.
So it's a long, slow process, and you have to spend either one or both of these, time and money. Right? There's no way around it, unfortunately. There are no shortcuts. It's but it's the old expression, you can't go back and create a new beginning, but you can start again right now and create a new ending. So
okay, thank you for that.
Delighted. Dawn, do you have anything else we'd like to do?
Well, I don't think so, unless anybody's got any more questions. I think you've given us a lot of food for thought, and those of us who are selling ourselves cheap will be going away thinking, how can we digitalize this? How can we monetize that? How can we drive traffic to the website? What can we do with our course, our book, etc., in order to enable that engagement and create that lifelong relationship with our clients?
Good.
So thank you very much, Peter. As usual, you've been very, very generous with your time and your information. That's why everybody loves you, and you have such a huge following, and create these raving fans. So I'm looking forward to having you back in early next year to talk to our membership as a whole, and also to our co-author group.
Indeed.
Obviously, there's lots more that we can learn from you. So thank you very much, Peter, and your team, Rachel and Beverly. Thank you for everybody's attendance and questions. We look forward to the handouts and partnering with you in whatever guise in the future.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you, Dawn, for organising Peter today.
Thank you, Sean.
You are very welcome.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Happy Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.